Hello, all. So, we are back with our podcast series. This podcast is very unique. We have made this podcast for System Integrator community. We call them SI community. They are very important people for IT industry, and we are going to look at a very strategic perspective on what should be their future strategy, how should they drive their business in next 5 years. So this podcast is meant for those who are in the business of system integration, who are not in the business of box moving, who are knowledgeable entrepreneurs, and they help their customers with IT solutions. In order to understand what future strategy should be adopted by system integrated community, we need to look at what they have been doing in last 5 years. You all would agree with me that system integrators have been doing business, and significant part of their business comes from government or large corporates. In last 5 years, government and large corporates have been the biggest investors in IT, and system integrator community have benefited from their investment in IT. But the time is changing, and we need to understand why the time is changing. In last 5 years, IT industry has changed a lot. Before I could tell you anything, you would agree that you have already started experiencing it. Margins are shrinking, competition is cutthroat, and system integrators are seeing that advent of cloud computing has diluted the role of an intermediary. Large corporates have already digitized themselves. They are going to next level of digitization in terms of IoT, in terms of Industry 4.0, in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning. This is something which is indicating, and it is indicating that now we have to shift our market focus from large enterprises or government to someone else. In order to understand where the market is going, in order to understand how to change the market focus, we need to identify the segment of the market which is likely to spend a lot of money, which is likely to invest significantly in information technology. In next 5 years, they are certainly not large corporates, they are certainly not government. They are going to be a very large sector of economy, and that is MSME sector, micro, small and medium enterprises. We need to understand why they are likely to be the highest investors in IT in next 5 years to come. So there is a very strong logic why MSMEs are going to be the largest investors in IT in next 5 years. The logic is very simple. If you look at any MSME setup closely, they have hardly digitized their accounting. They have hardly adopted cloud for email system. Most of their business processes, operations are not digitized. They are hardly on cloud. They were conservative about cloud. Now they are opening up to adopt the cloud also. So MSME sector is someone who is at a very early stage of its IT adoption, and this is a very large segment of Indian economy. They are the largest employment creators. They are the largest contributors to our GDP, and they are the largest taxpayers. And these are the people who are at very early stage of their IT adoption. So there is an immense potential for them to invest in IT, and hence there is an immense potential for system integrator community to benefit from that investment as a business opportunity. Now you'll ask me, in next 5 years ऐसा क्या हो जाएगा कि MSMEs will be investing in IT. They have not yet invested in IT so much. What will happen, and that will make them invest in IT? So let me tell you, it is very, very logical. Today's MSMEs are either suppliers to large enterprises or they are exporters. They are subject to global standards of competition. In order to compete globally, in order to compete on global standards, they have to adopt technology. They have to digitize themselves. They have to automate themselves. They have to be artificially intelligent in their operations. And that is the reason now the time has come. MSMEs will be compelled to adopt information technology. With government's initiatives like Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, MSMEs are the biggest beneficiaries. They are going global, they are adopting IT, and as system integrator community, we have to understand two very important points when we strategically focus on MSME sector as our potential customers. The same business which we have done with government or with the large corporates, those business models, those business strategies, those pitches will not work. We need to understand two very important points, and I am going to explain that. So the first point, how we do business with MSME and how is it different from doing business with a large corporate or government. It is RFQ or RFP. In no circumstances you are going to get invitation for proposal or RFP or RFQ, hundreds of pages of RFP, RFQ terms, conditions like you get from government or from corporates, specifying their very precise requirements, their expectations, quality standards, brands, time frame, payment terms. You are not going to get anything like that. An MSME is not going to give you RFP or RFQ telling you that what he requires, telling you what quality standards he requires. You have to adopt a consultative approach. In many cases, you have to go and convince the MSME that this is your requirement to compete on global standards. You need to take a call on that. So the first point which we all have to understand is the customer may not know what they require. We have to be adopting a consultative approach, explain them what they require, and then we have to convince them on return on investment proposition of whatever you are offering to them. And second point is even more important. In first point, you can change the approach by which you are going to sell the product to MSME. But in second point, you need to be very careful about what you are proposing to an MSME. Gone are the days when you go to an MSME and tell him that, sir, you have to buy 8 different systems. You need a domain controller, you need Microsoft Server Windows licenses, you need client access licenses, you need storage device, you need a separate firewall, you need endpoint controller, you need backup system. Gone are the days. When you go to an MSME who has 25 users, he is going to question back. For 25 users, if I am supposed to buy 8 different systems and have an expensive IT resource to maintain it, thank you, I am not interested. And we will lose an opportunity. So we cannot offer them those traditional solutions which are offered to large corporates who have their own IT teams, who have their own IT strategists. We have to shift our product portfolio from function-based products to IT in a box product. Means we have to tell them that you take this one product and it serves multiple functions. You know only me, I am your only service provider. There are not many vendors. This is a simple single product, and that is where such products are catching and spreading like fire. IT in a box is a key to conquer the MSME sector by system integrators. Our product Black Box is one of the very early entrants to this market. We have worked very hard for last 15 years, and we have established ourselves with thousands of MSME installations just because it is an IT in a box product. MSME owner wants to deal with only one party, single vendor. He does not want to pay for the features he is not going to use. So always go for these 2 points. One, you have to have very consultative approach. Two, what you are offering cannot be complex, cannot be expensive. It has to be simple, it has to be cost effective. So these are the 2 points which I appeal every system integrator to note if they are strategically planning to shift their market focus from large and government kind of businesses to MSMEs. Thank you very much.